up, guys? Welcome back to my part 2 series on this Redcat Racing Nitro Earthquake. This is a 1/8 monster truck. I only paid $128 for this on eBay, and yes, it was in relatively unknown condition, but you did see in the first part when I took it out of the box, it did start, the transmission did shift, so the issues it had were more or less superficial. Let me give you a quick recap of what they were. Front wheel was stripped. I didn't know whether this would be drivable or not. The steering was locked in a weird left position even though the servo itself was operable. The front wheel pin was missing on the hex hub, and therefore I had no front wheel drive. It was only rear wheel drive, but I am a Nitro guru. This should not be a big deal for me. Now I'm doing my best to put this content out as fast as I can. Now yes, I don't put a lot of fluff out there. If I don't find this stuff interesting, it doesn't make it to the channel. RC Voodoo, you always keep asking me why it takes me so long. Let's go back to the workshop. We're gonna work on it, repair it, and then see how cool this thing actually is when it starts up. Here is a good size comparison of the Earthquake, my TRX Revo 3.3 on the right, and my Tamiya Terra Crusher, my favorite overall truck of all time. Check this bad boy out. Man, I gotta agree, this thing is really not 1/8 scale size at all. It's basically exactly the same size as this Traxxas Revo, which is a 10 scale. But come on guys, we all know the Traxxas Revo is kind of a large RC, but of course compared to the Tamiya Terra Crusher, you could see it's completely not even close. Let's tackle the front tire. I never thought I would ever see this. Look at this tire. Now I thought it was just messed up from the inside, but it looks like somebody tried to drill out from the center right here. You could tell the wheel nut inside is not the same as the one found all the way around. So normally these are supposed to have black wheel nuts. This is some kind of different stainless steel one. So it looks like nothing fit, and I guess the pin on the other side fell out. And when a pin falls out, your wheel just simply slips out and spins out like this. There's nothing you could do. No amount of tools is gonna help you remove this wheel other than holding the dog bone on the other side. I don't think anyone had thought of that. Now it took me, look how many tools. All of these tools right here, and in fact all of these other tools right over here. None of these do anything. Now obviously, you know, regular socket set will fit the other wheels, so yeah, this works over here, but it just doesn't fit on the inside here. Probably somebody literally just tried to drill the wheel off. The only way I think I could remove this wheel is if I hold the dog bone here with pliers and try to use some needle nose pliers on the actual wheel nut. Let's see if this will do anything. Otherwise, it's just gonna slip out and I won't be able to take it off. Oh man, it's on there good. It's literally spinning the rear wheels when I do this. Okay, it's coming off a little bit. I'm using all of my strength here to hold the dog bone in. Barely freaking talk. It finally came out. Look at how narrow and thin this wheel nut is. This is like the worst wheel nut you could use in history. Look at how thin this thing is. I mean, there's literally nothing for, you know, a tool to grab onto over here. Let's remove the tire. There we go. Obviously, we're missing the wheel pin. That's why it's spinning out. Otherwise, the front suspension seems to be okay. I took off the rear tire to show you guys what the hub itself looks like. It is a regular 12mm hub. It is, in fact, even plastic. Nothing unique at all about it. You see these two touring car wheels? These are from a regular 10 scale RC. One is a drift tire here on the left. One is a regular touring car rubber tire on the right. They all have the same wheel hub. That is a 12mm. Yeah, these things have extremely small wheel hubs, but if you notice, the inside of this wheel has an aluminum reinforcing ring around the hub. Pretty nice design. It does come off, so actually that is not too bad to see. Let me demonstrate to you what I showed in the last video, how the steering was locked. Now, I also pointed out that this screw was not from this original chassis. Here, let's check out the steering. So the servo works, but yeah, it looks like, you know, it's just jammed in this position. I think maybe this screw is just so long, it's the wrong size, that it's obstructing something with the steering. So let's back the screw out a little bit. Maybe you'll fix it up. I mean, that would be probably the easiest, simplest, best pleasure, if you know what I'm talking about, possible. You guys get that reference, right? The simplest, best pleasure.
No, sir, I didn't say that at all. I'm just saying that would be the cleanest, best pleasure.
Cleanest, best pleasure. Here we go. I backed it out a little bit. Let's see what happens. Oh man, look at that. The steering is fine. It's just a little off center. Let me adjust the trim on the remote here. The only issue with the steering was the screw was just so long that it obstructed something in the pathway of the steering belt crank. Unbelievable. Now it's time to put a wheel pin in here. I have some parts that I had from my HPI here. So these are basically the same, since we know these are 12mm hubs. These wheel pins that I have as leftovers should be the same. This is the reason why I should always have extra parts, guys. Let's stick this in there. And then the wheel hub should basically just fit. And chances are I'll be able to put this back together and do some testing with it. The wheel hub is in one piece. I took it out of the wheel. Yeah, the wheel has a lot of damage, but you know what? It might still be drivable. Hopefully the nut will just hold this on the car. It's fairly light, you know, 8 pounds, not a big deal, should be okay. Let's get this thing on there. As soon as I put this on and assemble it back, the 4-wheel drive should be okay, unless there are some other weird phantom issues, which honestly, for my sake, I hope there aren't. All right. Man, I never thought I'd have to use automotive tools on a RC car, but I guess that's what Redcat wants you to do, right? It's pretty tight. Yeah, seems to be okay, nothing wrong with it. Check if we have rear-wheel drive. Yeah, so now as I spin the tires, we have 4-wheel drive. It's back. We are back in business, baby. Simplest, best pleasure right here. 4-wheel drive. So check this out, guys. The steering is all fixed. Look at this. Man, who says Redcat servos are bad? I mean, this is fine for me. The thing is on the floor, basically steering fine. Look at that. Holy moly. While I'm prepping this for a run, it's a good idea to do some air filter maintenance. It doesn't look like anyone ever removed the air filter from here, because the zip tie is on here so strong that I literally cannot remove, you know, the filter itself from the carb. So I'm gonna probably break the zip tie, see what happens. Oh man, this thing is on here good. I'm gonna have to use the Peacemaker on this one. All right, finally got that nasty zip tie off. With the air filter off, we could take a look at this cool slide carb. I really like these things. These things are pretty accurate. I like how it slides instead of the rotary carb. See that? It's actually really clean inside, and we already know that it ran, so nothing wrong with that. The filter has been washed and cleaned with soap and water. It looks to be in good shape. I use after-run oil. You could use specific air filter oil. It really doesn't matter. As long as there is a good amount of oil on the filter, it'll do the job just fine. That should be fine. Massage it through like that. There we go. That's perfect. I'm not a fan of this style of filter. This is just a single stage filter. Obviously you want to get a 2-stage filter with a nice outside dust cover. Here we go, guys. The cones are out. Here's the first start after the repairs. Put some 20% nitro fuel in here. Let's prime the motor a little bit. Okay, I just saw fuel enter the carb. Put the glow starter in, fire it up. Okay, it ran really well. I did a small break-in cycle. I don't know whether in fact it was done before, so the engine idled for about 10 minutes. It didn't turn off a single time. I did have to adjust the carb settings a little bit. I lowered the idle set screw right over here by about 1/8 of a turn, and I also leaned out the high-speed needle. You saw the amount of oil coming out from this tuned pipe. Now that's the reason that it tends to shut off when you give it throttle a little bit after idling for a little bit of time. So when you lean it out, eventually there'll be a little bit less oil. Now obviously I don't know whether this thing was broken in, so I'm probably gonna do about 2 more heat cycles, and then we're gonna take it up for a spin around this track. An interesting thing worth mentioning is you don't have to remove the body to start this. Now on common nitros, you almost always have to remove the body, then put it back on, mess around with the body clips here. Pretty straightforward. Get your glow starter in there. The pull start is easy to access, and fire this bad boy up. Okay guys, you saw that. It ran pretty good. It shifted to second gear. What else could I ask for? Actually, there is something I could ask for, a better tune. Now in the next episode, I will do my best to try to tune this thing a little bit better. This SH21, I looked it up online. There are a couple of kind of misleading instructions on how to tune the low speed needle. The high speed needle is relatively easy to tune. All you needed to do is not bog down that much and hit those higher PMs to shift into second gear, which it did. But I'm quite sure the low speed needle in this is a little bit iffy. Some of the instructions say it should be flush with the car body. Some say it should be 4.5 turns out. I'm at about 2.5 turns out right now and seems to be running okay. It does bog down. I know you saw that in the video, and that's okay. At least it didn't shut off that many times. Also, as an update, now remember how I had this wheel issue in the beginning of the video? I showed you how it was stripped. Turns out that it runs okay, although of course I don't know how long this thing is gonna last. I'm not gonna do anything right now with it, but I did message the eBay seller that sold me this, and I basically just asked him, hey man, I'm okay with the RC, I just want a small credit for the price of the wheels. We will see what in fact the seller says and how good he actually is. I have no doubt that this seller will be genuine and honest because their feedback is fantastic, guys. Whenever you have good feedback on an eBay seller, usually you could rely on them to do the right thing. They really just want to do their best to avoid any negative feedback, and I'm quite sure the seller will probably give in and give me the amount of money for the wheels. I don't always comment on the body style or whether I find these things aesthetically pleasing or not, but I gotta say I really like the layout and the look of this RC. This is kind of like a buggy truck, truggy type of thing. It handled extremely well. I only rolled it one time. Big block power is where it's at, guys. This thing is lighter than the Traxxas Revo, and it handles the big block power perfectly. You know, a lot of you thought that, hey, Redcat's not gonna be great with this kind of stuff, but man, I gotta say, I'm pleased with the drivetrain. Nothing broke. I mean, the transmission shifted. What else could I ask for? Yeah, I could probably ask for a better steering servo. It's a little bit on the slow side. By the way, I want to tell you guys I've hit a milestone. No, it's not the 10K subscribers, but I truly do appreciate that. No, it's not the 10% female audience. It's making it to a real Nitro Gas Guys YouTube video. Bodegel, when I met him at the Primal Drag Race event, I made it to his video. He called me out. I'm ecstatic about that. Finally got to meet one of my favorite YouTubers in real life. Great guy. Thanks so much for putting me in the video, Bodegel. Hope you see this too. And now I'm on my way to the hobby store, spend about $50 on a gallon of fuel because that's doing what it takes to keep a real gas engine running. And next time we're gonna try to lean this thing out, I'm gonna go through the whole pinch test with the fuel line, see how that actually works. Hopefully this thing will be up and running at its best soon. Till next time. Here we go, guys. Start it up. Nice.